Hey everybody, welcome back to Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain. Another great episode for you tonight. We're going to be diving into vitamin C. Big crash course tonight for you on everything you ever wanted to know about vitamin C and much more. If you don't already, or if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button down to the left. Make sure you hit the bell to make sure you get notifications as well. And also, if you're new to the Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain show, it's just customary that you chime in, let me know where in the world you're coming from. So if you're coming from India, if you're coming from England, if you're coming from Australia, if you're coming from Texas, just chime in, give me your name, tell me where you're listening to. Remember, if you're new too, hashtag save 100 million lives, that's our goal. So if you find this information helpful, pass it along to somebody who you think might need it, who could benefit from it. That's how we're gonna help save 100 million people on the planet from chronic autoimmune degenerative illness. So help me in my mission. So again, welcome to the show tonight. We're talking, well, we got a broken marker. Here we go. We're talking all about vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is a pretty popular vitamin. It's found in a lot of different supplement mixes and blends, and right now is really particularly a good time to talk about it because we're going back to school. And what's happening is the mass sharing of germs. All the kids are going back into the schoolhouses. They're mixing and mingling with each other, and then they're bringing that home, and that's just spreading out everywhere. So vitamin C, very, very critical for immune function, is one of its functions that we'll get into tonight. So if you've got questions that you'd like me to answer about your vitamin C related topic, you might want to go ahead and start punching those in now. It's first come, first served basis. I'll get to as many questions as I can within the show. So let's start with the functions of vitamin C. So there are a lot of different functions. Vitamin C is a very versatile vitamin. It's a water-soluble nutrient, first of all. You might have heard the term ascorbate or ascorbic acid. Those are basically synonyms for vitamin C. And it's very, very diverse in its level of functions. It plays a role in literally hundreds of different functions within the body. So what I'm going to try to cover tonight are some of the really critical ones that you may have heard of or not heard of. But number one is vitamin C is important and crucial in dopamine formation. So why dopamine? Why are we talking about dopamine? Because dopamine is a hormone that makes our brain feel happy. Without adequate dopamine, you can feel depression. And a lot of people have vitamin C-induced depression. So dopamine, very, very important. You have to have vitamin C in order to properly produce dopamine. Now, this where many of you might kind of recognize this is if you've read some of my friend, Dr. Ben Lent, he wrote a great book on genetics, and you may have heard of the Mayo gene, MAO. MAO stands for monoamine oxidase. That amine is what we're talking about in dopamine. So this is an enzyme that helps drive the formation of dopamine, and vitamin C helps drive this enzyme. So if you think about it like this, vitamin C is the car key that starts the Mayo motor, that allows the Mayo motor to then lead to enough energy to produce the molecule dopamine that allows your brain cells to communicate and feel good. So without vitamin C, making dopamine is much, much more challenging of a biochemical reaction inside the body. One of the other functions of vitamin C is that it helps with folate metabolism. There's some enzymes that vitamin C helps drive that help in the proper methylation of folate. And that leads to the third function that ties into it, which is serotonin. So you need folate to properly produce serotonin, but you also need vitamin C to properly produce serotonin, and it has to do with tryptophan. So those of you maybe have heard of tryptophan as an amino acid. We eat tryptophan in different foods. We eat it as an amino acid, and it's a precursor to serotonin, but you can't properly metabolize tryptophan without vitamin C. So again, to get from tryptophan to serotonin, that's a vitamin C reaction. That's a vitamin C driven reaction. So just so far, what we're looking at, dopamine, serotonin, folate, neurotransmitters of happiness, neurotransmitters of calm, right? These are very, very critical neurochemicals that allow your brain to be calm and think clearly, but also to feel happy. Right, and so this is one of the big factors involved with vitamin C deficiency is depression. Again, I know I've mentioned that, but it can very much create a state of depression for a lot of people. Now, let's talk about some of the other functions of vitamin C in this regard. Collagen production. So collagen is a protein. So let's find a place to draw a picture here. So collagen is a protein, and it's what's called a triple helix, meaning it looks like 3 strands that intertwine on each other. If you've ever seen like a big rope on a boat, you know, those big massive ropes, and it's like 3 smaller ropes intertwined around each other. That's what collagen looks like under a microscope. Now, so if we've got these 3 ropes intertwining, in between the ropes you have little ladders or little rungs. These are called crosslinks. Specifically, they're called collagen crosslinks. And these collagen crosslinks require vitamin C to form. So what happens to a lot of people with vitamin C deficiency? This is why vitamin C deficiency can cause things like easy bruising or gum bleeding, because your gums and your blood vessels are made out of collagen linings. And so if you don't have adequate vitamin C, these collagen crosslinks won't form properly, and so your collagen is formed. It still is produced, but it's made much more weakly, and so weakly as in weak, as in it's not strong, right? And so what happens is these are easier to rupture, easier to tear. So athletes, if you're into sports and you're finding yourself with repetitive injury, sprains, strains, those types of things, you might consider that vitamin C might be contributing to that. If you've had a chronic repetitive injury, maybe you're not an athlete, but maybe you just had a chronic repetitive injury, and every time it starts to heal, any small thing just damages it again and it goes back. Vitamin C may be the thing that's holding you back because of these crosslinks. Now, from a vanity perspective, many of you, men and women, if you want to look young, if you want to look vibrant, if you want your skin to not wrinkle prematurely, right? These crosslinks are also what give collagen its elasticity, so the bounce back in your skin. So, as your skin has an elastic property, that part of that elastic property is the vitamin C. It's the vitamin C crosslink creating that elasticity within the collagen fiber itself. So, very, very important for collagen formation. Now, there's a lot of places in the body that use collagen. Your skin is collagen. Your bones use collagen as their matrix, as their backbone. Your muscles use forms of collagen. Your tendons, your ligaments, your blood vessels all use collagen. Your eyes use collagen. So collagen is a structural protein that's pretty much found ubiquitously in your body. And again, without vitamin C, you can run into some pretty big problems in a lot of different areas. There are a lot of symptoms, a lot of side effects linked to poor collagen production. So taking collagen doesn't fix this problem. Like a lot of people today are taking supplemental collagen and they think that that's going to fix the problem. But if you can take the collagen, but if you don't have adequate vitamin C to really bind and hold the collagen together strongly with that elasticity, then you're out of business. So if you're going to pick over whether or not you want to take collagen or vitamin C, my best choice, my favorite choice would be lose the collagen, eat real food, and take extra vitamin C, because most of our sources of vitamin C today are minimized because of topsoil erosion, acid rain, pesticides, and the way that they're processed. So again, your best bet is going to go with vitamin C over a supplement if you're picking or choosing. Again, let's keep going down the list. So lysine is another one. Lysine and proline. These are 2 amino acids that play a role. So really, we kind of tie it back into collagen, but they play a role in the formation of collagen. And so these amino acids are under the direction of vitamin C to help build that collagen. So glycine we could put on this list as well as being one that's very important for this process. So lysine, proline, and glycine all need vitamin C to properly be metabolized and form that collagen. So this is actually part of that connection between, again, number 4 and 5, part of that connection. What else do we need vitamin C for? L-carnitine. Carnitine is an amino acid, and I'm going to put a little L in front of it, and it's very important. A lot of you that are following a ketogenic diet right now, the keto diet, where you're eating high quantities of fat, you should understand this, that in order for that fat to be burned as energy or fuel, it has to be able to get into your mitochondria. And the way that it does that is through a taxicab, a shuttle, if you will. The name of that shuttle is carnitine. So if you're on a ketogenic diet, your need for vitamin C is going to go up. And that has to do with the quantity of fat that you need to make as fuel. So again, to get that quantity of fat into your cell mitochondria to be able to generate energy, you've got to have vitamin C to produce the carnitine. If you don't have adequate vitamin C, you can run into a carnitine deficit problem, and that can create an inability to properly generate or burn that fat as fuel. Now, if you're eating a lot of meat, know that there is carnitine in meat as well. So it's not like you're not getting any carnitine from the diet that you're eating. But again, if we want to metabolize it internally, we need vitamin C to be able to do that. Carnitine is not an essential amino acid, so your body can produce it if it has other amino acids. But in order to do that, again, it requires vitamin C for that process. Let's move upward here. Number 7, you need vitamin C to produce the substance adrenaline and to properly metabolize it or break it down. So what happens for some people is they get to adrenaline, but then they can't properly break it back down. And so too much adrenaline stimulation over time leads to hyperanxiety, and it leads to an increased fight or flight response. Well, why is that important? If you have an increased fight or flight response, actually, let me give you another term here. Adrenaline is the same thing as epinephrine. Okay, and biochemically speaking, these two substances are converted to another substance called noradrenaline. Okay, and so this is vitamin C that's helping this process. So if you don't have adequate vitamin C, you can get stuck in adrenaline and epinephrine, and that's going to lead to an exaggerated fight or flight response. The fight or flight response does what? Improves digestion or worsens digestion. Actually, first person that gets that question right, we're going to get a free copy of No Grain, No Pain to you. So keep tabs on that first answer that comes in correctly. So again, the question is, does too much adrenaline improve digestion, or does it reduce digestion? Let's see if we get an answer anytime soon. Let me know when we have the right answer and who that is. So again, not having adequate vitamin C is going to keep your body in a state of fight or flight, and that state of fight or flight is going to make you a lot more anxious. And that anxiety is going to create or feed, it's going to feed a problem emotionally. And so some people get stuck in anxiety, like they really get stuck where they're chronically, they can't deal or adapt with stress because their mind is chronically going. It's chronically going. Let's see here. We got lots of folks chiming in on the answer. It looks like here that Karen got it first. So Karen, get with our team at glutenology@gmail.com and just let them know that you want a free copy of No Grain, No Pain, and we'll get that out to you. So again, too much adrenaline keeps you in fight or flight, which worsens your digestion. It also worsens your capacity for concentration. So a lot of people have brain fog, they have poor digestion problems, and they can't sleep, and then they're anxious, right? So part of that is because you can't metabolize the adrenaline out very easily. The other part, remember, vitamin C also affects dopamine and serotonin. These two are calming. These two are going to help you with concentration, focus, happiness, and calm. This is going to keep you in a state of anxiety. And vitamin C is necessary for both sides of that. So we don't really want to get into a situation where we don't have adequate vitamin C coming in to run these systems. And if you're under lots of stress already, because of your diet, because of your lifestyle, because of your choices, this is going to just drive your body's overutilization of vitamin C to try to compensate for the stress. So you actually stress-induce a vitamin C deficiency, which just makes the whole problem worse. Okay, one of the other functions of vitamin C is that it produces a substance called bile acid. Now, this is another digestive thing, right? So bile acid is produced in the liver, and it's secreted into your small intestine, and what it does is it helps do two major things. Number one, it binds onto toxins and gets them out of your system. Number two, bile acids are very critical for fat digestion. They help you emulsify fat, meaning they help turn fat into water-soluble substance so that it can be absorbed into your bloodstream. And so if you don't have adequate vitamin C, you can actually develop gallbladder problems. And a lot of people have gallbladder surgery. It's one of the most common surgeries in the U.S. today. And many people have gallstones or sluggish bile or thick bile or problems secreting bile because of vitamin C deficiency. So very, very important for bile acid and the digestion of fat. Okay. Number 9, Number 9 function for vitamin C has to do with a substance called NO, or nitric oxide. And this one actually, I believe, won a Nobel Prize a few years ago, but this is a substance that helps vasodilate your blood vessels. So it helps your blood vessels to dilate appropriately. They basically, your blood vessels are muscles, right? So they when they're tight, they constrict and then they open up, right? And so that dilation is that opening up element, and that's what opens up your blood vessels so blood can flow, so oxygen, nutrients, and other tissue, other proteins and other things can be delivered to your tissue. And a lack of nitric oxide leads to a vasoconstriction effect, which makes your blood pressure go up. And this is actually one of the connections between poor vitamin C levels and high blood pressure. So those of you struggling with any kind of high blood pressure problems, if your doctor's never measured your vitamin C or never even thought about using vitamin C as a tool to help support your cardiovascular system, is something that you should strongly consider. Number 10, vitamin C regulates lipoprotein A. Now, this is a subtype of cholesterol, and we've talked about cholesterol a number of times on the show, and I've given you my opinion and my take on cholesterol as not being all that important, but this one is different. Lipoprotein A is a small, very sticky type of cholesterol, so if any type of cholesterol is going to be dangerous, this is the one. Now, most people don't have high lipoprotein A. So generally, it's high for genetic reasons. It's one of the few things that actually is caused by genetics, but there's some research that shows that vitamin C actually helps to metabolize and reduce lipoprotein A, and so that's a possibility and one of the other functions of vitamin C. And the question came in a few weeks ago. Somebody was asking me about lipoprotein A and vitamin C. So here's your answer, and that vitamin C is important for the proper metabolism of lipoprotein A. And then number 11 on the list, we'll end it here, is immune regulation. This is another big question that we get. If I have an autoimmune disease, if I have an autoimmune problem, should I not take vitamin C because it makes my immune system stronger? Would that make my autoimmune disease worse? The answer is no. It's an immune regulator, not an immune strengthener. It's not like telling your immune system to overreact if it's already reacting aggressively. It regulates its reactivity. There's actually some really good literature and research on how vitamin C actually improves autoimmune conditions. It doesn't make them worse. So if your doctor's ever told you don't take supplements that basically increase your immune function, don't put vitamin C on that list. Vitamin C is an immune regulator, and the difference between an increase in your immune system and regulating your immune system is that an immune regulator helps your immune system recognize good from bad and do what it's supposed to do, and not necessarily just make it stronger. So it's not like a knob that you turn as vitamin C turns your immune system up. It just improves the ability for your immune system to be properly regulated. So we'll stop at 11. 11's a pretty good number. And let's go and see if we have any questions in that regard, and we'll start throwing out some answers for you. Okay. Can you overdose by taking, Crystal wants to know, can you overdose by taking too many vitamins like a multivitamin? I get a lot of vitamin A and vitamin E and zinc in my diet, and then take your multi with that. You're very unlikely to overdose on vitamins. Let me give you a few examples. Even like vitamin A, so like the difference between vitamin A, which is retinol or retinoic acid, and beta carotene, because if you're taking my multivitamin, it's a mixture of vitamin A and beta carotene, so you're not going to overdose, even if your diet's high in it. Vitamin D is another great example. Doctors tell people don't take too much vitamin D because it's fat soluble and it can become toxic too easy. You're more likely to overdrink water and drown than you are from becoming exposed to too much vitamin D through supplementation. And I mean, unless you're taking 1 million units a day or something, god-awful high. But as far as the other vitamins, no, the water-soluble family of vitamins, which are your B vitamins and vitamin C, very unlikely that you'd ever overdose on those, because first of all, a lot of what happens with those nutrients is you're only going to take up so much. Like the dose, even if you're taking very, very high doses orally, your GI tract is only going to absorb so much. Like in this case, for the example with vitamin C, if we're trying to really optimize how well we absorb the vitamin C we take, our body kind of ideally will absorb 500 milligrams much more efficiently. If you take one dose of 500 milligrams, let's say, versus you taking 5 grams, your body's going to absorb percentage-wise a lot more of that 500 milligram than it will that 5,000 milligrams. So only so much can get in at a time. So it's best, like with higher doses of vitamin C, if you're taking higher doses of vitamin C to support your immune function. And higher doses could mean anything from 5 to 20 grams a day orally for some people. Again, no toxicity, because before you even hit a point of toxicity, you'll have diarrhea and it'll just push out your bowels. So you kind of know what limit your vitamin C is at if you're taking it and it's making your guts really rumbly and gurgly, and you're getting a lot of gas or bloating or flatulence, or you're getting runny, loose stools. That means you took too much vitamin C. Now, what some people do again is so if you're trying to take 5 grams over the course of a day, you don't take all 5 grams at once. Split that out into 2 or more doses over the course of the day. It'll minimize the risk that you get any kind of gas or bloating or side effects associated with it. But again, it's very, very hard. I don't think there's any, the last time I looked it up, I don't recall finding one single case of vitamin C toxicity ever being reported in the medical literature beyond diarrhea, if you want to call that a vitamin C toxicity. But pretty much the symptom goes away the second you, or not the second, but if you stop taking the C, the problem completely goes away. So, okay, let's see if we got another question in there. Karen wants to know, I've heard vitamin C needs to contain bioflavonoids or it is not as effective. Is this true? No, it's not true that it has to contain bioflavonoids to be effective. Vitamin C can be effective all by itself. Now, is there a synergism between bioflavonoids and vitamin C? And the answer to that is yes. I mean, where we find vitamin C in nature, we typically find bioflavonoids with it. So there's definitely an intelligence to using bioflavonoids as well, but it's can be really, really challenging to get the high doses of bioflavonoids. Let's say if you're a person who's trying to take high doses of vitamin C, a lot of people do it for cancer prevention, or a lot of people do it when they find out that they have cancer. And they're trying to get 5 upwards to 10, 15 grams of vitamin C a day. It's really kind of hard to match that bioflavonoid dose with it. Now, if you're wanting to do that, I have a combination of that, and we can put that in the link for you, but it's a combination of 2 different things. I have a formulation called Detox C, which is a pure non-corn derived vitamin C. That's the other problem with a lot of your vitamin C formulations when you buy them over the counter. They're actually produced from corn. And corn's a big no-no if you're trying to be on the no grain, no pain diet. So Detox C, combining that with, we have another product called Ultra Q, and it's a very, very rich, high-dose blend of bioflavonoids, including quercetin. And those 2 can be used together synergistically to bring about a really, really nice effect. Let's see. White Wolf, how do you do the vitamin C flush? I heard that buffered ascorbate is the best. Buffered, you absolutely need buffered. Otherwise, you're just going to rip a hole in your GI, because ascorbic acid is an acid. If you try to do a flush, you're really going to have problems. So what's the generalized way to do a flush? There's kind of 2 formulaic versions of this. Version number 1 is if you're in really good health, you don't need as much. So the way you would do this is first thing in the morning. So AM, empty stomach. You don't want to do a flush. By the way, those of you that don't know what a flush is where you're flushing out your bowels. You're cleansing out your bowels like a detox. You're cleansing them out using high doses of vitamin C over time. So you do it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. You start, if you're using Detox C, it would be 1 teaspoon of powder, which is 3 grams of vitamin C. And you're going to do that every 15 minutes until you have diarrhea, and that's the flush, and that will run its course. It generally takes about 4 to 6 hours for that to run its full course. Now, if after the first 4 doses, so if you get through 4 doses, a teaspoon, in the first hour, you've taken 4 doses, right? Because it's every 15 minutes. If your stomach's not gurgling, if you don't feel any kind of rumbling, at that point, don't stay on the 1 teaspoon every 15 minutes. At that point, you're going to double it. So you double it. So 2 teaspoons every 15 minutes. And finish out the flush. You got to just increase that dose in order to get that effect. Otherwise, you're going to be sipping on vitamin C all day long, and you'll never really hit an effect until maybe late in the day when it's bedtime. So if you want to be effective, it's 1 teaspoon every 15 minutes. If you start to get rumbling and gurgling, just keep going at that same dose. If you don't, then you double the dose for the next 15 minutes and then on until you hit the flushing point. Once you hit the flush, once you start having diarrhea, stop taking the C. Let that flush you out, let it run its course. But that's the proper way to do a flush. Now again, it's very, very important to get pure, crystalline, buffered vitamin C that is not corn derived. I can't emphasize that enough. The other problem that a lot of people run into is that they're not taking fully reduced vitamin C. What does that mean, fully reduced? When you're manufacturing vitamin C, if the manufacturer is cutting corners, you have to produce vitamin C under what's called a nitrogen blanket, meaning a nitrogen gas. It's what preserves the vitamin C so that it doesn't become oxidized. Because if you're taking oxidized vitamin C, it can actually hurt you and not help you. So it's very important to use a fully reduced. That's what I mean by fully reduced. It means that vitamin C powder is pure, it's rich, it's fully reduced, it's not oxidized, it's buffered. It should be buffered with minerals like calcium and magnesium, okay? It should be buffered, and it should be pure and non-corn derived. So those are kind of the rules on the vitamin C flush and the general on the quality of the vitamin C that you need to look for. Okay, let's see here. I've heard vitamin C okay, I answered that one. Go back up. There was one I think I missed. Let's see. Little higher. No, I guess I didn't miss it. Okay, so let's pull up the next diagram for everybody. I want to dive into a little bit more on vitamin C and what I want you to know tonight. Looks like I'm running out of room, so let me clean up the board. We're going to talk next a little bit about symptoms of vitamin C deficiency. So what do you want to look for if you think, right, that you're having, or that you think that you're struggling with a vitamin C deficiency? What are those symptoms that you want to look for? Now, I mentioned earlier, the symptom of easy bruising. I also mentioned the symptom of bleeding gums. This is like a really quick hallmark way. It's very, very common, especially in young kids who have a high food processed diet. So if you've got young kids or teenagers and you're not getting them adequate vegetables and fruits, because that's where we're going to find the vitamin C. It's very common for them to have a deficiency, and one of the first things that'll happen is their teeth will bleed when they go brush them, so their gums will bleed. So if you're, as you're trying to be a good parent, have your kid open their mouth after brushing and really check the gum line for irritation or blood. That can be a sign, again, of vitamin C deficiency, and it can also be a sign of too much sugar. So you got to watch your kid's diet. I'd say look at your children's diet the way you look at yours. Don't say because they're young they can eat these things and get away with it. Like, raise them up properly now with good dietary advice so that when they get older, they're not struggling with the same kind of problems that you might. So again, bleeding gums, very common symptom that is an outward manifestation of vitamin C deficiency. Easy bruising is another one. I mentioned that. And so what do I mean by easy bruising? You're walking down the hall, you barely, graze the wall or something like that, and then the next day, you've got like a big, purple or black and blue spot, and you barely even got a bump. So that's really, really common. Slow healing is another one. And what do I mean by slow healing? Like if you get an injury and generally speaking, a mild injury, cuts or scrapes should heal within a couple of weeks. And for a lot of people with vitamin C deficiency, it takes twice as long, 3 to 4 weeks, instead of 1 to 2 weeks to really get healing. So if you find that you're not healing very quickly, then consider vitamin C as a possible issue. Number 4 is varicosities or varicose veins. So if you've got a lot of varicose veins, remember that collagen that we talked about. That collagen is what forms the structure of your vascular tree. And if you have poor vitamin C, those vessels are going to they're going to rupture out. They're going to break easy, but they're also going to bulb out. And that's what a varicosity is. It's that bulbousness. Number 5, muscle decrease. So muscle reduction, muscle and tendon and ligament injuries as well. But if you are working out and you're not recovering very well, you're getting things like tennis elbow or tendinopathies, vitamin C might be part of your issue, because as you strain those tendons, ligaments, and muscles, you strain them to injury when you work out. And again, if you don't have adequate vitamin C to come back in and repair those collagen crosslinks, you can end up with a problem of recurring muscle pain or tendon pain. Okay, number 6 on the list is recurring infection. You've all probably heard that vitamin C is important for the immune system, and a lot of people will get like kids, recurring ear infections, upper respiratory infections, sinus infections. You know, if you're chronically one of those taking your kids to the doctor repetitively for those repetitive recurrent infections, think vitamin C. As a matter of fact, my opinion would be think vitamin C before you even go in. Like if it's not a life-threatening situation, a lot of times vitamin C helps the immune system. It's why it's one of the most common over-the-counter sold products that helps the immune system with respiratory viral problems. So viral infections, respiratory infections, even some bacterial infections, a lot of times they'll run their course a lot faster with vitamin C. Vitamin C deficiency, if you've ever been diagnosed with a heavy metal toxicity, one of vitamin C's functions is it grabs onto heavy metals, especially lead and cadmium and arsenic. So if you've ever had heavy metal testing and told you had high levels of cadmium, lead, or arsenic, it could very well be because you didn't have adequate vitamin C there protecting you from absorbing those heavy metals. So these are some of your kind of pretty common symptoms of vitamin C deficiency. Now, women, I'll add another one. I know it's not on the slide that I put up for you, but I'll add another one, and that is estrogen dominance. If we really want to add this, and it's not so much because of estrogen as much as it is progesterone. You need vitamin C to produce progesterone, and so what happens to some women with vitamin C deficiency is they're not producing adequate progesterone, and that leads to that low progesterone leads to an estrogen dominant scenario, which can create thyroid problems and just a whole host of other hormonal issues. So, you know, if you've been told you have low progesterone, remember one of the precursors to helping your body naturally produce progesterone is vitamin C. Okay, so these are some of your main symptoms of vitamin C deficiency. Let's pop up some more questions and see if we got any others that are topic related that we can nail out. Let's see here. How much would you give a 3-year-old with chronic ear infections if he's got tubes put in his ears twice now? That's what Linda wants to know. So a 3-year-old, as far as vitamin C goes, it would be bowel tolerance, Linda, and that includes adults or children. So what does that mean, bowel tolerance? You don't want to give them so much that they're having diarrhea. So where I would probably start a 3-year-old is like 300 to 400 milligrams of powder. Again, 1 teaspoon equals 3 grams, so do the right math on that. And then just kind of increase and give that dose a couple of times and just kind of watch their bowels and make sure that they're not inducing diarrhea or vomiting. And you can go to bowel tolerance even with youngsters, just as if they're sick and they're running a fever and there are other things that could dehydrate them. Be careful because you don't want to give them so much you cause diarrhea if they're already sweating from a fever or dehydrated. You don't want to make a dehydration worse. Let's see here. How much C needed for a woman in the early 60s? So again, if you look at June, that's a great question, but it's also one of those, it's like, it's different for different people. What I love to do during this time of the year personally is take 5 grams of vitamin C every day. So, and I do that in 2 divided doses. I take a 3-gram bolus dose in the morning. I take a 2-gram bolus dose at night before bedtime. So it's a cumulative over the course of the day of a 5-gram dose. And I do that this time of the year because of the cold and flu season, because the kids are back in school, because everybody's sharing germs, and because I want to protect myself. Now, the other time I might take increased vitamin C at that level, at that 5-gram or more level, would be if I'm getting ready to go on an airplane and breathe in tube air, OPA, right? You've heard me say OPF, other people's food, right? But OPA, other people's air. When you're in other people's airspace and you're breathing in that recirculated air, and run the potential of germs being spread, I like vitamin C in my body to protect me. It just basically it helps my immune system do more and protect me better. And so I'd rather have more vitamin C than not in that scenario. As a matter of fact, if you asked me what one vitamin, if I had to pick one vitamin only, would I pick in order to maintain good health, if I were stranded on an island somewhere, it would be vitamin C. Vitamin C would absolutely be the one I would pick because of its plethora of functions and its importance in so many different avenues of biochemistry. Let's see, Wanda. Is L-ascorbic acid a good form to take? Again, it's most vitamin C's are derived, and they are L-ascorbic acid, but it depends on what it's derived from, Wanda. So again, it needs to be non-corn derived, and it needs to be fully buffered, mineralized and buffered, so that the acid itself doesn't create an irritation. Okay, let's see here. Next question. So how much vitamin C per day? I think I kind of answered that one already. It's different for different people. Again, if you're struggling with autoimmunity, I'm going to advise that you get your vitamin C levels checked, but it's pretty safe to be at 3 grams a day. Pretty on a long-term basis, it's a pretty safe dose. Let's see here. Vitamin C and cancer. There's a huge relationship. Look, there's a lot of research, and there are a lot of really smart doctors out there doing IV vitamin C and people with cancer and getting good results, getting reversal of cancer. I think the problem is so great, the FDA's turned its attention now on it, and they're trying to take vitamin C out of the hands of some of these doctors. There's like a regulatory process that's trying to be passed to regulate vitamin C, as if vitamin C in an IV form is dangerous. No more, I mean, look at chemo. Doctors use chemo all the time. Chemo is extremely dangerous, but now they're trying to call vitamin C a potential danger. I think it's ridiculous. Let's see here. What if you take it through an IV, vitamins through an IV? What happens then? Well, they just get into your bloodstream. They bypass your intestine and get into your bloodstream. Is that good or bad? It's indifferent. It just gets it directly into you. If you take it, here's the problem with IV, and it's not really a problem, but if you're relying on IV vitamins and minerals to supplant your food, like to take the place of the food nutrients or your oral supplementation, you have to understand that your GI tract, it's like your GI tract's a tube, right? And your GI tract receives about 60% of its nutrition. So I'm drawing you a little rough diagram here of the GI tract. It's not to scale and really a very poor job, but these are the cells. These are the tight junctions in the cells. So if we're talking about the nutrition that these cells receive comes from the food and the supplementation that you take in orally. When you bypass the GI tract and you go IV, you lose 60% of the nutrition to the gut. So if your problem is starting in the gut, doing IVs is great to get your body what it needs if your gut's so broken it can't absorb very well, but you're not getting the nutrients to your gut as efficiently. So remember, 60% of the nutrition to the cells of your gut come directly from what you put in your mouth, not from IV, and you don't want to dismiss that. So you want to take in those things. You want to take both of those things into consideration. The gut itself, if we rely on IV or we rely on parenteral nutrition methods of going around the gut itself can start to deteriorate in that regard. So you don't really want to bypass the gut on a long-term basis. You want to get the gut working healthy and well so that it can absorb the nutrients from your oral, either your food or your oral supplementation. Yeah, so let's, Wendy says, is vitamin C good for the adrenal glands? I got a slide for you, Wendy, on the organ tissues that have the most vitamin C or that store the most vitamin C. And so you can see here, organ storage, pound for pound, gram for gram, the adrenal glands are actually the highest in vitamin C. Very, very important. Why? Because the adrenal glands help you produce adrenaline, right? This goes back to what I was talking about earlier, but adrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol, which is your stress hormone that helps fight inflammation, all that needs vitamin C. There is some progesterone produced by the adrenal glands. I've already said earlier that vitamin C plays a role in progesterone formation as well. So your adrenal gland is very, very critical, very high in vitamin C. Your brain, your liver, your muscle, and this is in order from greatest to least, also all contain quite a bit of vitamin C as well. So hopefully that gets your question answered for you. Let's talk about some of the causes of vitamin C deficiency. I think that's important to know too, because many of you may go run and just start popping high doses of vitamin C, but look, let's get this data and this information in your mind so that you can take away the things that are diminishing your vitamin C and not necessarily have to rely on lifelong therapeutic megadosing, and that you can get some of it from your food, and you can get smaller amounts from, or some small amounts from supplementation, but not necessarily have to rely on megadosing the rest of your life. So what are the causes of vitamin C deficiency? Okay, so number one, smoking. You ever see a smoker's skin? It's more wrinkly, it's more yellow, it's older looking, right? Smoking depletes vitamin C. The number of research studies that have confirmed low levels of vitamin C in smokers as a result of the oxidant activity, meaning the smoking, the oxidants in cigarette smoke and the chemical compounds really cause your body to burn through more of its stored vitamin C to try to protect you from that chemical, right? Well, not that chemical, but those chemicals. Alcohol, same thing. Alcohol causes vitamin C depletion in people as well. And I'm not talking about an occasional drink of wine or something along those lines. I'm talking about daily alcohol consumption. If you're daily consuming alcohol, look, one of the side effects for a lot of people over long-term alcohol consumption is rhinorrhea and rosacea. And that part of that has to do with the vascular breakage. The vitamin C is being burned up and those blood vessels are breaking easy, creating kind of a rosacea and a bulbous nose and a red nose. And so that's why alcoholics, you look at them, a lot of the ones that have been drinking for a really long time, they have that really the vascular breakage in their face where it really shows up as really bright red skin. High levels of stress. This is a big one. Actually, some of the research studies that we've done, because humans don't produce vitamin C, there are some animals that do produce vitamin C. A goat, for example, produces their own vitamin C. And the reason why I mention a goat is because average goat weighs about 150 pounds, average human weighs about 150 pounds. So a lot of comparative research has been done between goats and humans to try to kind of get an idea for how much vitamin C does a human under chronic hardcore stress actually need. And so some researchers looked at goats to kind of try to just get an estimation or an answer. I know you can't compare directly goat physiology to human physiology, but take this for what you will. What was found is that goats under high degrees of stress would produce upwards of 15 grams of vitamin C per day to help their bodies cope and adapt and deal with that stress. Right? So you take a human who hates their job, who's in chronic stressful relationships, who's eating garbage food, and that food is stressing them out chemically. They're being exposed to chemicals. They're being exposed to air that isn't super clean, and they're not taking great care of themselves. They're not exercising, so their body's losing its capacity to detox very well. All those are forms of stressors, right? You got physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. All three are equal. Now compound them all together. What you're left with is massive quantities of long-term stress, which does deplete vitamin C. So if your life is very, very stressful, if you're under a high level of stress, vitamin C is one of my go-tos. Anytime I'm under more stress, anytime I know I've got a deadline to hit, or I know I've got more work to do, or I know I've got something that is coming up that might stress me out, I'm going to support my body's ability to deal and cope and adapt to that stress with extra vitamin C. Again, 3 to 5 grams is a good place to start. But it's generally, for people speaking, it's do the flush, then you take whatever it took you to do that flush. Let's say it took you 30 grams to do that flush, just hypothetically, right? You multiply that by 75%. Okay, so in that regard, 75% of 30 grams is 22.5 grams. That would be the vitamin C you would take. You would do that. You would take 22.5 grams of vitamin C for a few weeks. Then you would repeat the flush. That number should come down dramatically, meaning as you recalibrate for your flush, your goal is to saturate your body with enough vitamin C that you don't have to megadose with it every day. So, but stress, if the stress doesn't go away, then the problem just persists. Now, another cause is antibiotics. So a lot of people don't realize this, but taking them can actually deplete vitamin C. Pain medications can do the same. Pain medicines can deplete vitamin C, particularly your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory pain medications, Celebrex, naproxen, aspirin, ibuprofen, that family of them. And then I mentioned heavy metals earlier. Heavy metals actually can deplete vitamin C, so you can become heavy metal toxic because of a vitamin C deficiency, but heavy metals and exposure to them can also deplete your levels of vitamin C. So if you are exposed to heavy metals, and this is different for different people too. I've had people that didn't know it until they started investigating it, but I've had people with, heavy metal in an old home. They were living in an old home, didn't realize it was a lead paint issue. we've had actually recalls. China's done some things where they've used lead-based paints in children's toys and in pet foods and other things where lead became an issue. So again, I should put that down. Heavy metal toxicity can cause vitamin C deficiency. So, do your best. Filter your air, filter your water. How do we avoid heavy metals? We filter our air, we filter our water, we buy organic food, and that's going to minimize, at least mitigate your risk of developing a heavy metal issue. Number 7 is mold toxicity. So if you live in mold, and one of the ways your body protects you from mold and mycotoxin reactions is with vitamin C. So if you're living in mold and you're struggling with mold toxicity issues, vitamin C can be very helpful in that regard. Number 8 is petroleum exposure. So if you're exposed to a lot of petro, like I live in the greater Houston area, we're exposed to a lot of petro. Another reason why I like to take vitamin C on a regular basis to protect myself from that. And then number 9 on the list is carbon monoxide exposure, and that's generally exhaust, right? So you've got to be careful, and it's not, not that any of you are sitting in your garage with the door down, with the pipe, with the exhaust pipe and breathing all that in, but you might find yourself in like a traffic jam or something particular, or if you go to work and you're stalled out in traffic and you're breathing in a lot of exhaust fumes, vitamin C on a daily basis is just a good idea, in my opinion, to help your body deal with that excessive exposure to carbon monoxide from car exhaust. So those are some of the bigger causes of vitamin C deficiency. Let's move in next, because I want to make sure we have time to get through it, let's talk about some of the disease associations with vitamin C, like what happens to people when they have vitamin C deficiency. Well, if you understand what I wrote on the board earlier, which is the functions of vitamin C, you kind of understand where some of the diseases can creep in. Like I mentioned earlier, depression because of the dopamine and the serotonin. That's an example of a disease linkage to vitamin C. We've actually linked vitamin C. The big one is scurvy. So, this is what a lot of people talk about, the old sailors that made over, cross-Atlantic voyages. And what happened is actually, this is how vitamin C was discovered. It was the scurvy that would develop in sailors. They would actually lose their mind. They would go insane. And their teeth would fall out, and first their gums would bleed. They would break out in petechiae. They would get skin rashes and kind of internally bleed. And scurvy would kill you, right? And so it wasn't really known that scurvy was caused by vitamin C before vitamin C existed, but a really smart British admiral discovered that if you put limes on boats, and sailors had their ration of limes, that it could prevent scurvy on those voyages. So that's why oftentimes you hear the terminology limey when it comes to British sailors. They're limeys because they would take big bags of limes on their boats as they would make those cross-Atlantic voyages to protect themselves from the detriments of scurvy. But scurvy today, in today's day and age, is really, really quite rare. You've got to be severely vitamin C deficient. There have been a few cases, actually, where parents were feeding their children nothing but soft cereal with no fruits, no vegetables, and there were cases in the literature of scurvy developing, but it's really uncommon because most kids will eat fruit, and that's where the bulk of vitamin C comes from in the human diet. It comes from fruit. As a matter of fact, some researchers believe that humans develop their ability to see in color as a result of our need for vitamin C, so that we could seek out vividly colored fruits and vegetables, your bright oranges and your bright reds and your very vivid colors, and those things contain vitamin C. And that, again, it's a theory, but some believe that we developed our color vision as a result for our biochemical need of vitamin C. We just don't have the enzyme to produce it. Many other animals produce vitamin C from glucose. There's an enzyme that helps to do that. We just, as humans, don't have that. So anyway, scurvy. Another disease is atherosclerosis. So this is like hardening of the arteries or putting down plaque deposits in the arteries, and this has to do with the oxidization of bad foods. So your body, you're eating things like trans fats. Those things are oxidized. They'll create vascular inflammation, and your body will respond by laying down plaques. Well, vitamin C actually helps to prevent that, and so low levels of vitamin C over time are linked to greater increased risk for atherosclerosis. As well, high blood pressure. Vitamin C deficiency is linked to high blood pressure, hypertension. So, again, going back to if you're listening to this and you've got these diagnoses and your doctor's never even had a conversation with you about high blood pressure and vitamin C or atherosclerosis and vitamin C, first of all, shame on that doctor. Second of all, bring it up. Get to the bottom of it. Get the question out there. Number 4, cancer. There's definitely a lot of research on vitamin C in cancer. Don't let any cancer doctor tell you differently. A lot of cancer doctors try to scare people away from taking vitamin C because they say it makes the chemotherapy or the radiative therapy less effective. And the fact of the matter is there's no research that backs that up. Not any research at all. It's just strictly a hypothetical is what they're saying. It's kind of like there's no research that backs up that taking vitamin C with autoimmune disease actually makes autoimmune disease worse. But a lot of doctors say it anyway because they're too ignorant to understand nutrition, because they have less than 7 hours of training, and the 7 hours that they did get, if they even got 7, wasn't really nutrition. It was anti-nutrition coursework, unless they went to postgraduate nutritional courses, which not all doctors do. As a matter of fact, most don't. Now, some do, and I don't want to demonize all good doctors that are out there that have gone through the extra mile. But again, there's a lot of misrepresentation about nutrition in the medical field, and this is one of them. Bone loss, osteoporosis. Remember that collagen. Not having adequate vitamin C makes your collagen matrix weaker, and that means it's harder for your bone to become mineralized, so that bone loss can start to occur as a result. Type 2 diabetes. There's actually some pretty good research on vitamin C and type 2 diabetes, so lacking vitamin C can contribute to that problem as well. And then schizophrenia is another one, a mental disorder. There's actually one of my favorite mentors, Dr. Abram Hoffer, was a psychiatrist, wrote a great book if you're interested in reading about his history called Adventures in Psychiatry, but he wrote in depth about his research on patients with schizophrenia, and he actually identified it was a metabolic byproduct of adrenaline called adrenochrome, and that certain people could not break that adrenochrome down after adrenaline was metabolizing it, because they didn't have enough vitamin C. And that adrenochrome actually acted as a hallucinogenic drug that created schizophrenic-like symptoms. And so his research was based on that, and they actually isolated the compound from adrenaline called adrenochrome and proved that hypothesis to be true. Now, that's not saying that everyone with schizophrenia has a vitamin C deficiency or will have their schizophrenia cured as a result of taking vitamin C. But if you know somebody with schizophrenia and that vitamin C has never even been thought about or questioned, then it's certainly something worth doing. Okay, lastly, let's talk about some of the foods rich in vitamin C. I want to give that to you before I dive into your questions tonight. So let's talk about vitamin C rich foods. Now, I said earlier that your fruits and vegetables, and that's true. Your fruits and vegetables are pretty much where vitamin C lives. Now, if you like to eat organ meat, I showed you that muscle contains some vitamin C, but also adrenal tissue. Most of you don't eat adrenal glands or kidneys, so you're probably not going to get it much from organ meat. However, again, looking at where you can get it from a fruit and vegetable perspective, citrus is very high, kiwi is very high, strawberry is very high, kale is very high. Let's just put some on the board here. Kiwi, citrus, broccoli and cauliflower, so we'll just call it cruciferous because Brussels sprouts as well. Cruciferous veg are a good source of daily vitamin C. Bell peppers and tomatoes are good sources. Bell peppers are particularly rich if you can tolerate them. Some people can't with autoimmune disease. They don't do well with any form of pepper or nightshade. Potatoes, particularly sweet potato, is a good source of vitamin C. White potato is a good source, but most of you, if you're trying to be on the No Grain, No Pain program, white potatoes are not allowed. And that's just a big part of that has to do with the solenoid in white potato that can cause leaky gut and other problems. But sweet potatoes are allowed, and they're a great source of vitamin C. So these are some of your better sources or better food selections. But as a general rule of thumb, if you eat a lot of, variety of rich fruits and vegetables, when fruits are in season, eat them. They're richer in vitamin C when they're in season. If you have your own that you grow at home, it's better to eat those than it is to buy them in the store, even the store-bought organic ones, because when they pick the ones that you buy in the store, they generally pick them before they're ripe and use anti-ripeners so that they have them there longer so that they don't go bad before people buy them up. So it's always better to grow your own and eat your own if you have the ability, if you have the land, if you have the tree, if you have the garden box or whatever. But if you don't, the next best option is either farmer's market or buy from the store organically. All right, let's get back to your questions on vitamin C. Okay. Can vitamin C cause kidney stones? Mary Ellen wants to know. No. Not really. There's very limited research on ascorbate actually creating an increase in oxalate forming kidney stones. And I would generally say no. Vitamin C is not going to cause kidney stones. A bigger cause of calcium oxalate stones for most people isn't vitamin C toxicity, but it's vitamin D deficiency. So before I would suspect vitamin C as the cause for kidney stones, I would first know what somebody's vitamin D levels were, because again, vitamin D deficiency leads to inability to regulate calcium properly, so we get more calcium in the blood that precipitates with oxalate and forms calcium oxalate stones, aka kidney stones. Can a lack of vitamin C be a trigger for vertigo or silent migraines? Not in my experience, Ellen. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen. I mean, we could theoretically, biochemically, draw that out and say, yeah, there could be a connection, because with migraine, some migraine triggers occur as a result of antioxidant status being poor, and vitamin C is a very potent antioxidant. We really didn't even get into that aspect of vitamin C, but it's one of its major functions. But clinically speaking, generally where I see severe migraines nutritionally, the nutrients that you want to be concerned with are vitamin B2, magnesium, and vitamin B12. Those are really the big migraine triggers. So B12, B2, and magnesium deficiency are big-time migraine triggers. Let's see here. Oh, I love this question. Will people with celiac disease greatly benefit intravenous vitamin therapy? If yes, how often? Not really. I mean, you could benefit from intravenous vitamin therapy, but you could benefit pretty much just as equally from oral vitamin therapy, even with celiac disease. Remember what I said earlier. I drew a picture of the gut, and I said that 60% of the nutrition to the gut comes directly from the food that you eat. And so if you're recovering from celiac because of long-term, small intestinal inflammation as a result of gluten exposure, then you want to feed the gut the nutrients so that the gut has the capacity to heal. It doesn't mean you couldn't do IV nutrition and that it wouldn't be beneficial, but the focus of celiac is on the small intestine healing. There's actually some research studies on that same topic that show that people with long-standing celiac damage don't heal unless you give them supplemental vitamin C, and this is orally done. There was a great study done on that showed that people with persistent villus atrophy wouldn't heal unless you added vitamin C in, and on their total gluten-free diet, you had to add vitamin C in, and it allowed them to actually heal. So it's one of my favorite supplements to use in those people that I see with gluten sensitivity issues, and they're just trying to heal and recover. And if you ever go back and watch any of my videos on how to overcome a gluten exposure, like one of the things that is the top of the list of supplements that I recommend people take to help their body, support their body's ability to heal from that gluten cross-contamination exposure, is higher doses of vitamin C. Let's see here. I have metals, lead, and mercury among some others. What would you suggest how much vitamin C should be taken? If you're dealing with heavy metal, it's hard to say, because how you have metals is a question that I'm not certain about. So some people get hair testing and think they have heavy metals. Some people get like muscle testing and think they have heavy metals, and it's not as, in my opinion, it's not objective enough to base that on those types of tests. If you've had a pre and post provocation urine test done and identified mercury and lead, then now we're talking, okay, yeah, that's a heavy metal problem. 3 to 5 grams of vitamin C would be a great place to start to support your body. Aside from food, what's the best supplement form of vitamin C? No, it's not liposomal. A lot of people are doing liposomal and thinking that liposomal is better, but a lot of your liposomal vitamin Cs are corn derivatives, and I don't recommend them for that reason. I like pure ascorbate that's buffered, pure ascorbic acid that's buffered. That's why I produce Detox C. It's my primary vitamin C product on Gluten Free Society. So those of you who are looking for my recommendation in a vitamin C supplement, hands down, there's nothing better on the market than that particular product. Let's see here. Yeah, I love that. Pamela says, so true about healing the gut with vitamin C. No Crohn's symptoms since 2015. Thanks for sharing, Pam. Let's see here. Is this information in a book I wrote? A lot of it is, Sherry. If you don't have your copy of No Grain, No Pain, pick it up. You can pick it up at Barnes & Noble. You can pick it up on Amazon. Recommend that you grab your copy if you haven't already. If you tune in every Monday night, it's kind of the platform for knowledge that when you tune in, you have a basis of knowledge, and then we have our conversations, and you can just take so much more away from the show if you have, if you've read that book and you have that information. So June wants to know what my vitamin C is derived from. It's derived from an organic wild African potato. So it's not the same as a white potato. It's a different species. And so we don't have to worry about that nightshade effect. But that's what it's derived from. Brigida wants to know, can vitamin C be used in a nebulizer? Well, any substance can be used in a nebulizer. The question is, how effective is it? I've never personally used or clinically used vitamin C in a nebulizer and haven't read much research on it, so I don't want to say to use it that way, but I don't want to say they can't be. I haven't seen much on that. I know nebulized glutathione is something that's much more commonly used because the lungs use heavy doses of glutathione, and it's a great way to get glutathione in. But as far as vitamin C, don't have much experience in that regard. Cindy says, vitamin C causes my face to swell up. Why? When I was younger, it worked great for keeping me and my kids not sick. Well, you're probably getting a GMO corn derivative-based vitamin C, or you're probably using one of those products. And I don't know, maybe you are, maybe you're not, Cindy, but a lot of people use like these, I'm not going to mention any brands or companies, but these sweetened vitamin C powders that have different flavors and things of that nature. A lot of that stuff is corn. It's artificial, it's either artificial flavoring or it's some kind of natural flavors derived from some form of GMO corn. So that may be what it is. It may not be the vitamin C per se. It may be the filler or the ingredient in the vitamin C product that you're using. Let's see, there's one. Is vitamin C good to take alongside statins? Only been on them 2 weeks for high cholesterol. Jeanette, I would say the bigger question is, why the heck are you on statins when everything we know about statins says that statins are basically a waste of time and a danger to your health? You need to go back and watch my news research review that I did on cholesterol medications a couple weeks ago. Just go back in our video archives and watch that. I posted up a lot of the research on why statins are probably a pretty dangerous idea for most people. So as far as taking vitamin C with a statin, is there a side effect or an interaction? No, there's not. So it's perfectly safe to do that. But again, I would just question why you're being put on a statin, because again, statins for most people are not a good idea. They're not a safe medication, and the side effects far outweigh any benefit in any literature or medical research that's ever been done. Let's see here. Keep going. Ever hear of vitamin C turning into oxalate crystals in the body? No, that is not a typical reaction, June. The research on that is very, very poorly done, and I would say that generally speaking, vitamin C is not a risk factor for the development of kidney stones. Again, I mentioned that earlier. That being said, if you find that you take vitamin C and you develop kidney stones, you've got to honor what your body's telling you. But generally speaking, no, that's not an association that has a ton of merit. Yeah, Lucinda says she drinks Camus powder, and that's great. So you're getting lots of vitamin C in that as well. Okay. I was taking vitamin C to increase progesterone to help with estrogen dominance. Now I'm understanding that it may also increase estrogen. No, not so much. I haven't seen that correlate out very well at all, Deborah. Vitamin C increasing estrogen. No, I haven't seen that. Let's see. Answered that one. A lot of you asking the same question, which is good. It means that I'm answering it and getting a lot of people taken care of at the same time. Does vitamin C help the teeth to restore and cure themselves? Thank you. Look, vitamin C is very important for bone and matrix formation and the collagen formation in the bone. So in that regard, I can't recall ever reading a research study that showed that vitamin C helped heal or restore cavities. But from the perspective of, is vitamin C necessary for the metabolism of healthy teeth? Yes, it is. Is it best to wait for the buffer vitamin C to become clear before drinking? Yeah, so what it's best to do, Vincent, is to stir it really well, because buffered C will fizz. And as it's fizzing, stir it really well, let all that fizz kind of die out. Because if you don't, what happens is you drink all that fizz and then it gases into your stomach and it can create intestinal bloating, which hurts. So if you're doing like a vitamin C flush or a higher dose of vitamin C, stir that glass really well until there's no more fizz left, and then kick it back, and that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, well, I think we're over time. There's still a bunch of questions coming in, but hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscriber button and make sure you hit that share button. If you know somebody who could benefit from this information, look, it's life-saving, life-changing, share it with them. Together we can save more people. And drop me a hashtag Save 100 Million Lives. Do me a kind favor and drop that into the comment section below and help me get this message out there to reach more people. Look, I'm hoping you have an excellent week and wishing you excellent health, and we'll see you next Monday night for another episode of Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain. Take care. Hey, don't forget to tune in next week, same time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, for another Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain show. Bring all your toughest health questions to me. I look forward to answering them. And before you leave today, make sure you hit subscribe. And once you do, click that bell. That bell is going to allow us to remind you right before we go live. But it's also going to allow us to remind you when we come out with other video content all week long. We've got lots of episodes coming your way all week long, and I don't want you to miss anything. So again, subscribe, hit that bell so that you can get notified when we have that new information put up for you. Thanks so much, and I'm wishing you excellent health. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday night.